If you have ever felt like you needed to edit yourself to be easier to digest, this episode will help for you. And it's not about becoming more likable, it's about becoming more yourself, even when that costs you people. Welcome back to Tired of Thinking podcast. I am Golden Girl, and let's get straight into it, my friends, as always. So first things first, you are not for everyone. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just get it over with. You are not for everyone, and that is okay. Not everybody in this life is going to like you. Not everybody in this life is going to understand you. Not everybody in this life is going to find you amusing. And that is life. And we as people need to learn how to be okay with that. Because if not, we're going to spend the rest of our lives performing for people, tap dancing for people's perceptions of us, perceptions of who they think we are, not who we actually are though, babe. That's a prison, okay? AKA prison. Performing is a prison. Freedom is when you are no longer performing for people's perceptions of you because you are so rooted in self. When we find ourselves overly consumed with what other people think about us, it's usually because we've left our home base, and our home base is self. Majority of your awareness in this life needs to be on self. Not Billy Bob, not Suzanne, not what Cheryl thinks about you, what you think about you. And honestly, returning your awareness to self will solve majority of your problems in this life, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Let's continue with what we're talking about. Majority of us honestly spend too much time thinking about other people. We think too much about other people, places, things, and situations. Is this your life or not? Okay, then act like it, move like it, think like it. Return your awareness back to self. When we are consumed with what other people think about us, that is increasing our suffering in this life, unnecessary suffering at that. Instead of worrying about what people think about you, what do you think about you? And not in some superficial BS way, dead ass. What do you think about yourself? I want to encourage you to, instead of being curious about what other people think about you, be curious about what you think about you. When we find ourselves getting so destabilized with other people's perceptions of us, it's because we have some shakiness in our self-concept. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is our self-concept. Being curious about self, building our self-concept, so that we care less about what other people think about us. Because like I said before, this isn't about becoming more likable. It's about becoming more yourself. Spend intentional time getting to know yourself beyond, like I said, your surface level likes and dislikes. Why do you even like the things that you like? Not what do you like? Why do you like these things? Who are you? And what do you want out of this life? What gets you up in the morning? What makes you smile? What are your non-negotiables in this life? These are a few questions that you can ask yourself when you are getting to know yourself, when you're building your self-concept, when you're being curious about self, not being curious about other people, being curious about self. And really answer these questions. Don't half-ass them, because a lot of us are half-assing our way through this life and wondering why our reality is half-ass, wondering why our experiences in this life are half-ass. Come back to yourself and stop relying on the world to soothe you. We need to learn how to soothe ourselves so that we don't feel so destabilized when people don't understand us, when people perceive us inaccurately. Because when you are relying on the world to soothe you, when you are relying on the world to validate you, you're going to build resentment about the world. Like, it's one thing to resent one or two people, child, but can you imagine resenting the world? That's a prison. Prison. That's why I'm encouraging you to be curious about self. Why? Why do you like the music that you like? Why do you like the shows that you like? How would you describe your style? How would you describe your personality? Be curious about yourself. Get to know yourself. Because like I said before, I'm going to say it again, because a lot of times repetition is how we learn. Repetition is how we change. A lot of times when we find ourselves so destabilized and so consumed with other people's perceptions of us and wanting to be liked so badly by other people, a lot of times that comes from shakiness within our self-concept. Return your awareness to self. Jim and Susie that are wondering about you and perceiving you inaccurately also need to return their awareness back to self. Honestly, everybody just needs to mind their own damn business. That's why we suffering so goddamn much, because we just don't mind our business. Mind your business and come back to yourself. Is this your life or not? Okay, then act like it and mind your business. What other people think about you is honestly none of your business. No, it's not your business, actually. How do you even know what other people are thinking about you? Since you want to be curious about something so bad, be curious about yourself. Do you even like yourself? Genuinely, that's a genuine question. Why or why not? And what are you going to do about it? I'm not here talking at y'all on some high horse. I'm here talking with y'all because I understand what it's like to not actually like yourself in this life. I used to numb myself with Xanax. I used to honestly find myself very insufferable as a person. I had weak discipline. I didn't trust myself. I was a freaking crash out, burning everything around me that I loved and cared about. We don't have to stay stuck in these versions of ourselves that are no longer serving us. That's a prison. At any given time in our lives, we can decide that we can change. But how would you know what it is that you want to change about yourself, whether you like yourself or not? What it is that you dislike about yourself? What things you can work on in this life? If you're too busy worrying about what other people think about you, how would you even have time to learn more about yourself? How would you have time to be curious about self? You won't. You won't, my love. You won't. The more I returned my awareness to self, the more I became curious about myself instead of trying to control my environment, instead of trying to control what other people, places, things, and situations think about me or what they do and what they think and what they gonna do next. That is a prison. But the more I came back to myself and was curious about self, the more I was actually able to be like, okay, I actually don't like myself. I didn't. I do now. Thank God. Okay. Lacked discipline, didn't trust myself. I would say one thing and go and do the opposite. What type of life is that? That's suffering. Now I'm in recovery, thank God. And also I trust myself more. When I say I'm going to do something, more often than not, I'm going to do it. Self-trust builds confidence. Do you trust yourself? Who cares what Jim and Susie are thinking about you? Who cares what Cheryl is thinking about you? Who cares what Antoinette, I don't know, I made that name up, child, is thinking about you? They need to mind their own damn business, return to themselves while you focus on you. The more rooted you are in self, the more unapologetic you will be about who you are because you know yourself, you trust yourself. When Jim and Susie perceive you inaccurately, it's not going to be so destabilizing. It's not going to feel like it's the end of the world. It's not going to feel like a freaking punch to the stomach. You're not going to be rushing to fix it. You're not going to be rushing to prove yourself. You're not going to be rushing to perform and tap dance your way through this prison. No. The more rooted you are in self, the less you'll care about what other people think about you because you're rooted in self. You know who you are. Because like I said, I'm going to say it again. A lot of times when we care so much about how other people perceive us, we have shakiness in our self-concept. So I'm encouraging you, my friends, to be curious about self. That's what we're focusing on in this episode, is curiosity about self. I don't think curiosity killed the cat, but curiosity will kill the cat if you being curious about the wrong things. I made that up. I don't even know what that means. Okay. Don't just roll with it. Okay. All you have is self. Stop performing for people. You're going to resent them. You're going to resent yourself. You're going to resent the world. And that is a lot to weigh on your shoulders. Our shoulders are already tense, child. A lot of times we're walking through this life, our shoulders are up to here because we're so goddamn tense. Drop the shoulders and return your awareness back to self. We need a self counter. How many times am I going to say self in this episode? The goalpost is always moving when you're performing for other people. And it's not even your goalpost. It's other people's goalposts, AKA prison. It'd be different if it was your goalpost, but it ain't. Focus on who you are, what you think about yourself, and who you're becoming in this life, and what you're trying to create in this life. And when you do this, you will be misunderstood, my friends. And honestly, probably more people are going to dislike you. Okay, I never said, like I said, and I'm going to say it again. This is not about becoming more likable. It's not about becoming more digestible. It's about becoming more yourself. You're going to become misunderstood. You're going to still be misunderstood, even probably by more people. We have to grow our tolerance to being misunderstood. So when people misunderstand us, instead of rushing to fix it, instead of rushing to prove ourselves, instead of rushing to change their perceptions of us, instead of rushing to feel less misunderstood, we have to learn how to sit with it. That's how we grow our tolerance to these uncomfortable feelings, these uncomfortable emotions. Feeling misunderstood is uncomfortable. Being disliked is uncomfortable. But you're going to learn how to sit with it, tolerate it, and still stay true to self. That is how you grow your tolerance to being misunderstood. That is how you grow your tolerance to being perceived inaccurately. That is how you grow your tolerance to being disliked. You sit with it, you tolerate it, and you still stay true to self no matter what. But the thing is, you can't stay true to self if you don't know who you are. So this is one way to build your self-concept, is by being curious about yourself and truly answering some of the questions that I asked a little earlier. The more you sit with being misunderstood and tolerate being disliked without rushing to fix it, the easier it will feel to be misunderstood. The less you'll even care about what other people think about you, because you're rooted in self, because you know who you are. Not saying you're always going to be perfect, not saying that you're never going to care ever in your entire life what other people thinking about you, but it's not going to feel so destabilizing. Your attention will naturally just become more drawn to self. And also your attention will also be more drawn to people that actually do like you, that actually do understand you, that are not trying to change who you are. And you also have to understand that not everybody's going to understand us in this life. Honestly, I can probably, of all the people in my life, I think maybe one or two people honestly understand me. I don't think we're put on this earth to be truly understood. We're put on this earth first to be ourselves and have majority of our awareness on ourselves, but also to just be accepted for who we are. Being understood and being accepted are not one and the same always. Those two don't always equate to one another. People can misunderstand you in this life and still accept who you are. So yeah, like I was saying, as you grow your self-concept, as you continue to be curious about self, as you bring your awareness back to self, the more you'll be naturally drawn to self and to people that are not trying to change you, people that accept you for who you are, even if they don't fully understand you. And if you feel as though you don't have people in this life that understand you, that see you, that accept you for who you are, but the more you grow your self-concept, the more you trust yourself, the more you're curious about yourself, the more you become more confident in yourself, the less time you spend trying to control how other people think about you, the more you'll naturally just begin to draw people that align with who you are, that accept you. I know that this journey can feel isolating at times. I know it can feel as though you are just so alone in this world. They will come. Trust me. But for now, you have to return your awareness to self. You will attract people that accept you for who you are and not who they want you to be. You are not for everyone, my friend. And that is okay. And honestly, that's ideal. Can you imagine everybody in this world liking you? That's a prison. That's a prison. Not everybody in this life is meant to like you. That's it. Okay? That is all I got for y'all, my friends. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this at least planted some seeds for your self-concept, for being curious about yourself, from detaching from what other people think about you, and instead focusing more on what you think about you. This is part 1 of our Identity Bootcamp Series. Focus on self-concept, focus on curiosity of self, focus on returning our awareness to self. Let me know what you think, my friends. Any thoughts, questions, comments, judgments, vibes, leave them down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, please. And again, this is a Tired of Thinking podcast, and I am Golden Girl, and I will see y'all very soon. Part 2 is coming soon. Bye.